Hello, and welcome to HYCU's webinar on avoiding the top 7 mistakes with cloud backups. I'm Jim Freely from HYCU, and over the next 30 minutes, we'll discuss the top missteps that organizations make around cloud backup, as well as practical advice on how to prevent them. Our speakers today, both from HYCU, are Marko, Ljubanovic, Director of Global Systems Engineering, and Shiva, Technical Solutions Architect. Before we begin, I want to remind you that your lines have been muted. If you want to ask a question, please do so through the question panel. And so, without further ado, I'll hand it over to Marko and Shiva to get started.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everyone, for your time and for being with us today. So Shiva and I are going to walk you through this. We have a bunch of good stuff for you prepared. We're going to try actually to switch also into the live demo a bit, so it's not only slideware. You can actually experience and feel the product and how it looks like in action as well. Shiva, any opening words from you?
No, I'm really happy to be here and co-present with Marko. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to type them on chat, and we'll do everything we can to answer those questions.
Yep, exactly. If not during the session, immediately after as well. We are limited with time, but happy to get to all the questions.
That's why we have two presenters. One can talk, and one can at least check the chat.
Exactly. All right. So first of all, who we are, who HYCU is. We're a company headquartered in Boston, and really what we have been doing our whole lives, Shiva and me included, is actually backup. We lived and breathed in backup space for more than 20 years. And the reason why we, as a company, built HYCU was actually to, build something different, build a different new age solution for this multi-cloud world. What this means is we recognize that today in the public clouds, private clouds, there is a lot of complexity out there, and there are different platforms out there. And we wanted to build a really simple new age solution, right, to utilize these powers of these platforms. And this is really why we exist in this new age world. And this is why we have, over the last 4 or 5 years that we've been launched, we have actually sold in a lot of countries and got a great investment by Bain's Capital as well last year, which just powers us to produce even more and develop and innovate even more. At the core, we are very much an engineering company here to help simplify backup. Okay, so I say that you will get yourself recognized in one of these little clouds, right? How we like to see it is that actually, if you look at them, each of them is very specific and different, and each of them has their values and a reason why you chose them. Is it VMware? Is it Google? Is it Azure, Amazon, so on, right? So all of them have their advantages. And when we developed our product, which is called HYCU Protege, we actually wanted to support all of these platforms in a very specific way, in a very native approach to each of them, and provide what we do, right? We do data protection for each of them, as well as data migration between the platforms and disaster recovery. And this is what HYCU Protege actually does in a nutshell, right? How it looks like? Well, look, we have our native solution. We started pretty much same as any other company with our on-prem solution with VMware, Nutanix, physical machines, various integration with databases, right? And then from there, when we said, look at the multi-cloud world, we wanted to not take this on-prem solution and build it for every, and say we support each cloud. We really wanted to build a native solution for each of these clouds. And this is what HYCU Protege is all about. So we have a native service running on top of each of these clouds and supporting it in the best appropriate way for the platform. How it looks like, as I said, we won't make it boring, right? So we actually, let's show you how our Protege console looks like, right? And when you log into HYCU Protege, you will see that from a single console, we can manage and look at all of our complete enterprise environment, be it on-prem HYCUs, be it Google Cloud, Azure, AWS is something which is being launched very fast, very soon in the coming months, as well as Office 365. So complete portfolio where you can manage everything and look at your complete environment, right? All right. So today what we want, this is who we are, right? So today what we want to talk in the next half an hour is really what are the mistakes which people make when they move to cloud backups, and how we can help avoid them. And it's not only technology, sometimes it's just the mindset as well. Right, so first, and this is something we learned from our customers actually. First one is, You come and they say, yeah, but I already have backup. I'm in the cloud. And there seems to be some behavior. I think whoever is joining this session is, I hope by now, aware that cloud does not provide any backup and does not take care of your data in any way or fashion, right? They provide cross-regional capabilities, redundancy, that kind, but not really a protection of your data. Shiva, you want to jump in?
No, absolutely right. I mean, there's always this misconception that when data is secure on cloud, people automatically assume that your data is backed up. I mean, in reality, when they mean security, it's all about having inbuilt encryption, having those default high availability options when there is an unforeseen outage. So they are very basic at the end of the day. They're not even they're not backups at the end of the day, right? So,
It's
so
in the
that
contract in the cloud, right? It's even in the contracts that they're not protecting the data. So
exactly.
let's hope this is clear. I know, we will not spend more time on it. But another one which is really interesting is, look, we have snapshots and cloud provides me with snapshots. Why do we even need backup as such? What's the difference, right? So the difference is that backup, what we do as a backup solution, we take your data and we put it out of the primary workload storage, the primary clusters, the primary data centers, right? And the reason why snapshot is not a backup is because it can be easily deleted together with the VM in a few steps. It can be encrypted by ransomware. They're expensive. They're kept on the most primary tier. You don't get any nice features like consistency, granular recovery, all of these things. So snapshot is just a very basic replica of your machine, but it's nowhere near a backup, right? And this is another thing which we see with customers from the confusion, what is actually a backup as well. And on top of that, at the end of the day, there's somebody who says, okay, I do realize I need a backup, but I already have my legacy solution. Why need HYCU in the first place? And well, that's why we're here today as well, to show you what is it so much different about HYCU and how we do these things differently than what legacy vendors, which take their software and put it on the cloud, do, right? And this is what actually brings us to the next mistake, which happens in the cloud. And this is something we call the on-prem mindset. You come to the cloud for a reason. Customers come for two reasons usually. One is scalability, right? And the other one is to simplify their lives for a service, which they're going to get in the cloud. Yet when they come to think about backups, they accept in a way that this on-prem mindset that, look, I'm going to install something manually. I'm going to manage the workers. I'm going to manage the proxies, the networks. I'm going to do manual activities, all of this. So what we say is, why keep this on-prem mindset? What you want and need in the cloud is really a true SaaS, a true service. And this is why when we developed HYCU, we didn't take our on-prem solution and brought it into the cloud and said, yes, you click next, manage your workers, install your different machines. No, we just said, this is going to be a true SaaS. So how it looks like is, well, it's simple as that. When you go to your marketplace in your Google, in your Azure, in your Amazon, you click subscribe. What happens is HYCU is going to deploy a HYCU controller in our own part of the cloud in Google, in Azure, in Amazon, and it is going to manage it completely as a service. It means it's going to do the upgrades, the patching, the protection of this instance, and you don't even have to pay for the infrastructure, right? And this is one big plus of having an actual proper SaaS offering. We do it for you, right? And that's why you're here in the cloud. And the other part is, well, if you take this on-prem mindset, you're okay with accepting that you need to size your infrastructure, that you need to take the VM, think which VM you need to install your software on, think about the workers, which networks they're on, are they in the proper region, all of these things. With HYCU, with our design and how we do it, for every backup we do, we start up a temporary instance or a VM, it does the backup job and we delete it. So we fully utilize the scalability of the cloud, right? And this is what brings this simplicity into the solution. You don't have to think about anything. You can apply your policy and do the backups.
And that's the big thing, right? Especially when it comes to scale, because in the cloud, there is no end. I mean, scale is limitless, technically speaking. And you
Exactly.
need to have a backup solution that could basically scale to the limitless or boundless scalability aspect of any public cloud vendor, right? And
Yeah.
that is one of the biggest things that you have to consider.
True. And this is what the SaaS really means, because also a lot of times you'll hear, yeah, we're on the marketplace. Marketplace is not SaaS. Marketplace is just a
That's
place
true.
where you can see your market, you see your app. But how does it deploy? How does it install? How is it managed? Who's protecting the app? All of these things are actually things which make a true SaaS offering. The other part is, as we were discussing at the beginning, you're utilizing your platform, right? You invested into your platform. You want to utilize it as much as you can. But you're not actually doing it. And you're not doing it unless, for instance, a second ago, we were talking about scalability, right? If you're not utilizing the power of cloud to scale, then you need to do this manually. Why? So when we say we are cloud native, what does this mean, right? First of all, we are native to each public cloud. A lot of solutions out there, they might have some type of SaaS even offering for backup, but they will focus on one cloud. We really go across all the clouds, right? And the same unified design with the same concepts, principles, and simplicity, right? So this is one big plus. And the other one is also when you log into HYCU, right? It's not only that we will ask you that, you manage your users, your backups, your infrastructure specifically just around backup. No, you have your cloud. You've already configured all the users in the cloud. You already configured your Active Directory, your security, right? So why would you do this specifically for HYCU? So what we do actually is, if you log into your Google, right, you'll see that I'm logging in with IAM credentials, right? So we're not keeping any of your passwords. If you log into Azure, right, you log in with your Microsoft credentials, right? So we're not keeping this. And not only that, but as soon as you log in, we'll automatically inherit whatever you see in Google or Azure, you will see inside HYCU as well. So we inherit the whole infrastructure, and you can group it now. If you're a service provider, you can group it. You can have different, as we call them, protection set, where you can put and protect different projects, resource groups in different sets, so that you have, one UI, one reporting, one everything around that particular, for instance, customers or regions or parts of your organization. So it's like having 100 HYCUs inside one HYCU, right? It can manage multiple subscriptions, right? It's one HYCU to manage the complete environment. And you don't have to manage the users or permissions or anything separately, right? This is all inherited by the system. And this is what, again, native to the cloud actually means. All right, coming to the fourth error or fourth mistake, which we see is, well, yes, we have snapshots, and that's okay. But then somebody comes as a customer, or we have a lot of talks with our customers and say, I'm using this backup tool. It's working okay for me. And we say, okay, well, what is the backup? Where you're backing up your data? Well, then they try to find out where the backups are going, and they figure out, hey, it's actually not doing a backup because it's not copying the data out of production into a storage bucket of your choice somewhere, right? Into a cloud, into on-prem somewhere. No, it's what these tools are doing today a lot of times is just snapshot management. They will provide you with a UI to put the snapshots in multiple regions. But it's, again, these are snapshots, right? So what you need is a true backup to protect in today's world and really be secure. So how do we do this? You can create dedicated backup targets of your choice, right? And we will make sure to backup data, copy backups to that storage. It's going to be really an incremental forever strategy, but a special one we implement, which is actually deduplicated data and really built for storage efficiency. So we can tier off the data into different appropriate tiers, archive tier, cold line, new line, all of these as part of the solution, right? So we will save you on the cost because snapshots are kept in the primary tier. The other part is also, we will make sure that your applications are properly protected, right? We'll detect your applications. We'll automatically protect them as well. This is something that you don't get with classic snapshots, right? And then at the end, if you need to do granular recovery, perfect, right? How does this look like? Well, look, for instance, we'll discover your applications, right? We'll show your SAP HANA, we'll show your GKE applications. We show them to you, and you're able to go and assign a policy and back them up, right? If you need to do a file level recovery, it's very simple, right? You just select a virtual machine or an instance, and you click on restore files. There is no agents involved in any of this. HYCU doesn't do anything, make you install agents and manage them on these VMs. Everything is very native to the cloud. You're just able to restore simply a single file directly back into the virtual machine of your choice, right? So this is what a true backup brings on top of just being a snapshot management. Now, a fifth one is really interesting, and we briefly touched it at the beginning also, and that's the thinking that cloud is a safe place. It's not, right? The fact that you don't maybe see it on Google that customers are attacked and that ransomware is a very live thing in the cloud, that that's not good. Actually, it would be better if it would be more visible to the outside world of how cloud is vulnerable as well, right? So what you really need and want in the cloud is proper ransomware protection, right? And in general, security, right? So how our security is built, everything is done with the internal traffic, internal IP traffic between our control plane and the data plane of your choice, right? So no backup infrastructure is exposed to the external world. Apart from that, we enhance our user management. That's important from your internal aspect, right? As well, not only from, and ransomware doesn't necessarily come from outside, right? It can be a rogue customer or user at the inside as well, doing something bad. So what's important is that not only that we inherit all the permissions and everything from Active Directory, right? We actually enhance this with our own roles, and so whoever logs into HYCU, you can have a different role assigned to them. Is it the backup, restore, operator, reviewer? So you have full control over your own environment, what they can do, right? Apart from that, again, ransomware. When it comes to ransomware, your data needs to be kept safe somewhere outside of production. And what's really good about HYCU, and I heard this, for instance, on the AWS event, they call it a data bunker, right? If you think about it, it's a bunker. Nobody can actually penetrate it. That's the most important thing. If they can't access it, nothing can happen, right? So HYCU's backups are truly air gap, because what you can do is you can have a dedicated service account, right? Or a service principal in Azure, right? So what this means is when you add a target into HYCU, you can really keep it on a separate subscription from production. You can have a dedicated subscription just for backups, a dedicated service account, service principal, given just to HYCU, and HYCU only can access this data and back it to it. So truly giving you this air-gapped protection on the storage, so that nobody can access it, right? And at the end of the day, when you think about ransomware, you also need to be able to, it's not only about backup, you need to be able to get the data back if something happens. And this also helps from the cross-regional recovery and even simple recovery, and how do you actually perform recovery in HYCU, right? And the way we do it is extremely simple, right? You just, from a simple menu, you can actually restore the instance in place, or you can clone it into a different region of your choice completely, right? Into a different zone, different networks, different projects. So you can really create very fast recoveries, even bulk recoveries in the space where you need in case of disaster, right? Okay, so the other one is number 6, if we come to it. A lot of times our customers still, and this also comes a bit from that on-prem mindset, they still rely on the manual management. They still think it's okay, look, I'll just do this, I'll click here. I need to do a file level recovery. I had a customer who was interesting, where he said, look, for file level recovery, I'll just restore mount myself, then I copy the files from the machine back into it. If you would tell this to a customer in the on-prem world that, hey, I don't have file level recovery, you need to manually do this and copy, they will be really looking at you strange, right? So what you really need and want in the cloud, that's why I went against simplicity, right? So operational simplicity, from the fact that, look, HYCU really brings you incredibly intuitive experience. We build this from day one with user experience experts, how to make sure that we don't build a big jumbo jet with 10 billion clicks where you can read manuals and prepare everything with consultants for 5 days. No, you should feel like an iPhone thing, right? Just open it up and you know where to go. There's a lot of time invested into this, and the HYCU UI is proof of that. The whole concept of how we built HYCU also was about set and forget principle. Our main goal was to have something we call policies, right? So policies are nothing else than a set of rules which you can define, where you can say, look, this is my RPO, how often to back up, this is my retention. I will have copies, I will have archives, I will have automation via labels so that whenever a machine is added, I will automatically protect it. So all of these are simply a rule which you can have, even predefined, but you can have them defined to your wishes. And then from set and forget, you set them, you apply them to your complete environment, to your buckets, to your instances, to your applications, and you're done. You can apply one to all of them, and there's nothing else that needs to be done, right? You can just monitor reports and see if everything is going okay. So that kind of simplicity and principle, set and forget principle, is what we are built on at the very core, again, from simplicity perspective. And on top of that, we bring you something which is really interesting, and that's a proactive support. Us being a service, we can monitor everything and be notified if some things are failing. And if we see that the failure is something that needs to be fixed on the customer side, look, we will notify you and make sure that this gets addressed. If this is something on our end, well, again, we're a service, so we can patch or fix it and notify you that the thing was fixed as well. So this kind of a thing where somebody has your back covered if you're out, if you didn't notice something, is a really nice add-on that our customers love. So no manual management, automation, simplicity, definitely something you want in your cloud lives. And at the end, what you want is to plan for the future. You need to be prepared for the future. Not planning for it is something which we see often. Tomorrow something needs to happen and you never thought about it. And what you really, in today's life and today's modern, clouds, cross-cloud mobility is an extremely important topic. If tomorrow Azure is made cheaper, why wouldn't you move there? If you're now in on-prem and you want to move into the cloud, why wouldn't you do that, right? So this is something you want to be planning for and preparing. And this is what we have also been working with our customers on. And one of the aspects, if you're already in the cloud, for instance, is that you can get easy DevOps copies, easy clones, simple replicas of your environment, cloning a single disk into a different machine. All of these things is something where HYCU helps to accelerate the movement and dev and test environments. But on top of that, if we're talking to our on-prem customers, what you want is to plan for the future, to plan that you will be able to move to cloud at some point, right? So what you can do with our on-prem solution is you can really have a cost-efficient backups, which are put from on-prem world into any of the clouds. And what's good about it is we can write directly to any of these clouds, any of the public clouds, right? And then when you're ready, if you're ready, and if you ever need it, you can then perform disaster recovery, or you can do a migration into the cloud. And how we do that is, well, it's a really, again, an extremely simple process, right? Where we call this spin up to cloud functionality, as we call it. And to see here is I have my application consistent backups of my SQL servers, my SAP HANA Exchange, right? And this is all application consistent backups which are kept there in the cloud. And if I need to migrate or perform disaster recovery into the cloud, then I can do this, right? I can go easily to Google, to Azure, again, very soon to Amazon as well, and simply select where I want to actually restore my data, right? Select the project, select the regions, and once this is done, what happens is, well, we will simply power on the machine from the backups and allow you to get the data running in the cloud, right? And what's great about it is also that from the get-go, you're able to classify or actually select the type of the virtual machine which you're going to run in the cloud. This is really important from the cost aspect, right? Because you need to control how much memory, CPU, which network is it going to get when it gets powered on, right? And from the cross cloud, you can also do spin up from cloud as well. So the whole thing about Protege is really providing a circle of protection. You can go into the cloud, continue protecting it in the cloud with our service offerings, and then go back as well. and all in an application consistent manner, right? All right, I think, Shiva, anything I've missed, any big items which you want to add?
Shiva, I think you're on mute.
Maybe we lost him for some reason. But look, we are exactly 3 minutes to time. So, to evaluate us, try HYCU.com, or actually for the cloud solutions, you can definitely go directly to the marketplace and just subscribe to our service on your own. It's that simple. And yeah,
Thank you.
Questions in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, so there are a couple that have come in. So just a reminder, you can use the questions panel to enter any questions. But a couple have come in. I know we have just a couple minutes, so to dive in. One, I'm running SQL in the cloud. Can you support that?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. So definitely yes, and it's a multi-layered question because I'm not sure how the SQL is running. So SQL can be running as in the virtual machine itself, right? And as you can see here, for instance, in our on-prem solution, we are able to discover the SQL which is running there. We are able to protect the application consistently, provide granular recovery from our data of the single database. This is something which is now finding its way into our cloud solutions as well. So this is going to be coming there shortly. This is, let's say, from the old-fashioned perspective, if SQL is running on a VM. If your SQL, however, is running on a container, again, we were able to discover the containers and protect them as well, right? Automatically, we'll just protect the persistent volumes, disks, and hold the configuration. Or if your SQL is running as a service on a SQL as a service, right, app, or in any of the clouds, that's something you can also, the way you actually protect these is by creating a dump into the storage bucket, which we can then also back up. So from application perspective, there is always a way to make sure that your data is properly application consistently protected by HYCU. I hope this covered the question.
Great.
The details.
Yep. There was another question that came in. If the data is up there, is the cloud not a backup because of its recoverability, the data availability, or the amount of time it takes to download it?
Can you run this again?
Sure. So it's if the data is up there, is the cloud not a backup because of its recoverability, the data availability, or the amount of time it takes to download it?
I believe it's a question with regards to when we basically said cloud, the backup is not it's not a default option. It's not available by default in the cloud. I believe it's a follow-up question for that.
Yeah.
So basically, so I'll try to answer that question.
Yes, yes.
I mean, the thing is, I would say cloud basically gives us the option to, store backups on the cloud, but it basically provides us the required infrastructure to store the backups in a secure fashion on any public cloud vendor, right? But public cloud vendor, they themselves do not offer you, a detailed backup solution like what Marko presented today. So that would be the best answer that I can provide right now.
Okay. And I know we're right up against time. One last one I'll squeeze in here. A question came in. How does HYCU do licensing?
It's really, really simple, actually. License, we also, from the nativeness to the platform, we are actually integrated into the billing of every cloud, right? So you will see us, for instance, in Azure. If you go to billing, you will see us as one of the line items, and you can see, depending on which tier the data is in, how much is this costing you, right? So it's a proper native service pay-as-you-go model with additional abilities for commit. And the licensing itself is based just on two things: your source capacity of your virtual machine, your applications, your disks, which you're protecting, your data buckets, right? And the tier of protection. So how often you are backing up your data. Is this once a day or less, or is this maybe every couple of hours? Obviously, the more you back it up, the bigger the price is. And that's but really simple, native, integrated into the platform and part of the same bill from Azure or from Google or Amazon.
Terrific. Thank you. Well, we are right at the time here, so we'll have to leave it there. Thank you, Marko and Shiva, for sharing those insights, and thank you to the audience for joining us today. Hopefully, you gained a few key takeaways that you can use from this session, and we hope to see you on a future HYCU webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.